Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm Jianjun Xie from Decision Analytics and Research Team, CoreLogic in California. Here I'm going to talk about our experiment on predicting institutional level paper acceptance at conferences, a time series regression approach. We are going to talk about three topics here. One is the framework of the model, how to set up the problem. Then we are talking about the feature creation, and then talk about some of the experiments we did during the competition. First of all, the model framework is we convert this problem or this task into a time series regression problem. We directly predict the institution level of number of papers accepted each year. So that's if you predict the number of accepted papers right, then your NDCG definitely will be high. So then in the feature creation part, we created 4 groups of features. The first is the paper rank variables, basically is your historical number of papers accepted every year. Then another one is the PC membership variables, which is program committee membership. If this author is part of this conference's program committee member, then you probably have a high chance have your paper accepted. And those information are available in your each conference website. So we crawl that information down, have all the list of papers and match to this conference, the paper author list. And then the third group is the cross-conference variables, which is, this institution or how many papers you accept in this conference, whether it has influences on the number of papers accepted in another conferences. This we call the cross-conference variables. The last variable is the cross-phase variables. So basically, we know, because this competition has 3 phases, in phase 1, after it's done, you will know the ground truth on the selected conferences, right? With that additional information, whether it will help for you predict the phase 2 and the phase 3 information. Basically, that's what we want to utilize that information to help the further later stage of the competition. Then in the experiments we did, first of all, we try different algorithms. We want to see which one is more robust and reliable, which one we want to choose. We compare the linear regression, which is the ordinary linear regression, versus the GBM, which is a gradient boosting decision tree. This is a very popular algorithm in most recent competitions. A lot of people use it. Very powerful, win a lot of competitions. And we are going to show the results between those two. Actually, we find out the linear regression is not bad at all in this competition. And actually, finally, we choose the linear regression instead of GBM. And then we also look at the 2-year model versus the 3-year model, because you have 5 years history of the data, right? You can use the last 2 years to predict the 3rd year, or you use the last 3 years to predict the next year. So we compare those 2 years model experiments. And then we will talk about the last results, the main final results. Here is the model framework. You can see in the training data set, right, we have 5 years of historical data. For the 2-year model framework, we basically, in this case, we use year 1 and 2, which is 2011 and 2012. Then you predict 2013. Those 2 years, you are not going to use that. Then the next, you can also use 2012 and 13, then predict 14, so and so on. You have 3 basically set of data in your training. Then in the competition, we are going to predict the 2016, which we are going to use 2014 and 15 as your information, to predict this year, next year. Then similar with the 2 years model framework, in the 3 years model framework, this is the training. You can only have 11 to 13, then you predict 14, then use 12, 13, 14, predict 15, 15. Of course, when the model built on this, then you predict, when you do the prediction, you use this last 3 years data to predict 2016. That's basically the 2 model we used. Then those are the framework. These are the features. Once you have the model, how you create the feature, right? we listed the list of actually pretty simple. Only there's 3 or 4 or 5 features for each category. For the variable rank ones is basically number of papers accepted last year, number of papers accepted last 2 years, last 3 years. Then those variations, standard deviation. We are using standard deviation. We're using smooth moving average for last 2 years, last 3 years. Those are very traditional variables when you handle the time series regression. And then this is the PC membership variables, right? We look at it for each institution, say Google, for a conference, say KDD, how many PC members in this year and the last year and last 2 years. When you crawl all that information down, we will find this. And then the last, when we submit a paper, of course, one of the reviewer asked, can you give more details on how effective of each group of features? That's a very interesting question. And I listed one way to look at whether the features are predictive is we look at the correlation between the number of accepted papers and with the value of each variable. So those is Pearson correlation coefficients. Basically, the high coefficient, they're more predictive, of course. And we see this group is a paper rank features. Your historical acceptance, the number of papers accepted, definitely is the most powerful ones. As how mentioned on, right? The last 3 years or last 4 years, simple average, you will get number 4, number 5. Basically, this is the most predictive features, of course. And then there's the PC membership. If you want to get your paper accepted, be the PC member, program committee member of the conference, of course, your paper will highly likely accept it, right? Then the cross-conference feature, cross-face feature, has some influence, but not as strong as those tools, definitely. And here are the algorithm comparison. We compare, as I said, we compare the simple linear regression and the GBM, which are the more complicated ones, right? Those are the results listed on the training. See here on this, this is a phase 1 data set. The 3 conferences, training, this 2-year model. This is a 2-year model, use a different algorithm. Here I listed 2 measurements, performance measurement. One is root mean square error. Your regression model, of course, most of people use root mean square error. The lower value, the more accurate of the model. It's average, the overall error. This is the computation used in NDCG 20. We can see in general they agree with each other, but not necessary actually, because our root mean square error measures the overall performance, and this one only care about the top 20. And this we see the GBM, which is a more powerful method, on 2 of the 3 data sets has a lower root mean square error, but however in the ADCG, actually they only have I believe 1 is better. The other 2, the linear regression is better. That's why we since the valuations on the ECG, when saying GBM did not outperform this linear regression on the testing data set. And the linear regression actually has smaller standard deviation. We also see those results compare these standard deviations. The bigger ones have a bigger variation. We see the linear regression actually has smaller standard deviation than the GBM. That's why in the final result, we just use the linear regression, which is a very simple approach. And then also compare is that last 2 years model will be better or last 3 years model will be better. Here we see the also variations. 2 years model, this is on the phase 3 model performance on the 3 data set, right? So the training, this 2-year model uses those 2 years training testing here. In 3 years, you are going to use 3 years training and only test on 1 year. Yeah. We see in most of the cases, 2 years actually slightly better. The 3 years trying to catch a longer term trend, than the 2 years most catch a more recent trend. Then we cannot see which one is stand out. Obviously, the final result just take the average of the 2 years and 3 years, so that hopefully to make it more robust. And those are the final results on the submission. Those are phase 1, 2, 3. The first year you just the 2-year linear regression model. Those two phases we are using the average of the 2 and 3 years. Those are the ground truths we choose for the 3 conferences. We can see that actually for the phase 1, we are hoping our 2016 results will be in this range. We see the results actually on the lower boundary, which is a little overtraining. Actually, we see it's closer to here, but on the KDD one, on the phase 2, is obviously still, even is a very simple model, you still see overtraining. You are testing also the NDCG is greater than 0.8, but our results are actually 0.75. On the third one, is more this data set. I believe those one is small data set. It has a big variation. The results is not great. Actually, it is within the testing range. It's between the 0.6 and the 0.77, which is 0.70. It's within that range. Those are the final results. By conclusion, we convert this task into a time series regression problem and create 4 groups of the features. Your historical paper, we call it paper rank variables, which is most predictable. The next one will be your membership, piece membership. So linear regression is good on the GBM for this problem, and that definitely, as everybody mentioned, it's very challenging to keep stable, between the 3 phases, right? So there's no single team ranked top 4 in any 2 phases. Like you can see the big variation. Any questions? Yeah.
Did you see any? Did you see any difference for the FSC conference, given that they don't allow this modification of authors?
The authors?
Yes, for the FSC conference, you're not allowed to add authors to the author list.
This one, that's how mentioned. What do you mean? Do not allow the add authors?
As what?
As how mentioned, right?
It was mentioned before that they don't allow modification of the author list.
Right, but you still see if you look at the the result of the leaderboard, or even between accepted and the camera ready, the variation is still very big. I think that's because some of the authors does not list their institution.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right. Okay. Thank you. Great. Any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you very much. One question.
I want to know a little bit detail about the PC membership. So, what kind of features using the PC membership?
Correctly, right? The PC member, first of all, you download all the list of the PC members, name, and the institution.
It's not in the MAG dataset, right?
What?
Oh, you download it from the
download from the
internet site.
conference webpage.
All right.
And then you will see the number of authors. You will see the number of their institutions. You will find, see, Google has 2 members, or Yahoo has 1, Microsoft has 4. Then that's the feature you created. Each year you have this list. Then you will create last 2 years on average. Google is 3, Microsoft 4. You rank out.
Between the roles of the PC member.
What's that?
So chairs or publication chairs or.
Did you do any?
No, I did not distinguish that. I just treat them equally and count how many each institution has.
And that was one of the, Hal went over this at the beginning, one of the parameters of the competition was that other data sets were freely available to be used as long as they were publicly available and everybody would have access to them.
My question is, you're using PC membership. Did you test by removing this particular feature? Is it actually impacting the results?
No, I did not do that test. I hope, this should be helpful. That's why I downloaded the cleanup, and I did not do that experiment. So, yeah, thanks. But from that correlation efficient, I see that's the second predictive group compared to the paper information.
Anybody else? All right, well, thank you very much.